On our road trip, we've had just a crazy crisscross across Montana. Although it wasn't our plan, there were some incredible views. That's one thing I've noticed as we've kind of been kicked around different parts of Montana trying to make this work, is that pretty much any way you go, you're going to see something just utterly fantastic. Things that aren't off the main interstate. And that's what road trips are all about. So although we've had some issues and there are some learnings from that, we're also seeing things we never would have seen. So there's a silver lining, and so far, until right now, the weather's been pretty perfect. So while we're in the middle of this family vacation, one of the things I wanted to do while I was in Montana was check back in with the Well Done Foundation, who I met with about 7 months ago as they were plugging their second or third well here in this field. And wanted to just come and get a little update on how things are going, see the progress in the field. So we spent yesterday up here in Shelby, relatively relaxed day, took Joan swimming a couple times, got some lunch in town, and then came up to the field to see the progress here and what the Well Done Foundation's working on. One of the things I noticed while I was walking around here yesterday was that there are a lot more plugged wells and wells in process. And as Curtis said over the phone, things might look a little gnarly, but that means there's work in progress. So I think that's great. It's funny because as I was walking around looking at some of the other wells that aren't capped and aren't under Well Done's program yet, and there's just like a chunk of railroad tie sitting over the open well. So that might look a little cleaner because there isn't the torn up earth and everything around it. But, that one's still venting methane, and the maybe a little more gnarly looking ones with the cement still around and the groundwork isn't complete looks really bad, but those are the ones where the emissions have stopped. So that's the key factor and what we really want to focus on. We took a walk to each of the well sites, and I was really impressed by the finished cap to the well I got to see plugged. From all that equipment down to just a small monitoring cap, and best of all, no emissions. Also excited to see that they're working on multiple plugs at once, showing the pace is picking up. In an adjacent field, I saw the familiar drilling and maintenance rig from last year and walked over to talk to Matt Enenberg, who owns it. Today they were doing maintenance on a still functioning but underperforming well, but he said the week before and the next week they'd be on Well Done jobs, saying Curtis was keeping them pretty busy. It was good to touch base and get his perspective on the progress, but he didn't have time for an interview. We walked back through the fields, admiring the countryside with only the horseflies and scent of methane to bother us. Although a little boring by the end, Joan handled it pretty well. We don't hang out in many fields at home, so it was new to her. And then after the field, we went down to the visitor center and saw some of the new displays they have there, talked to Stacy about some of the new programs they're doing, some of the work they're doing with school children, and some of the places they're expanding. So pretty exciting stuff.
And as of today, we are starting our 8th well, plugging, and we have finished our visitor center, which we were working on, I think, when you were here at the open house. We've been printing photos so we can sell them for the foundation. All profits go towards plugging the abandoned wells. Goal for this year is 30 wells here out in Shelby. And so far, it's on track, weather dependent, of course. Yeah, so looking for people to help sponsor and adopt the wells. So I believe all the work that Curtis has been doing has really made a difference in the last year. It's amazing how many people have heard about us and have heard of our cause and how many more people we need to reach. Just did a road trip about 2 weeks ago, and we are expanding in Louisiana, Kansas, Pennsylvania. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have wells that are going to be plugged there. On that, you have to rely on educating people, and getting the job done, hiring the locals to help you out and give them jobs to help them in the community. You know, our visitor center, we opened it up and worked hard on it as part of giving back to the community, to help Main Street and to make, you know, a place for people to go. We've been doing field trips for third graders, teaching them about the wells and how to plug, and we have a hands-on demonstration. And we've had them out to the field on Earth Day, where they came out and watched us actually plug the well, 30 below, 40-mile-an-hour winds, and they were so pumped. They did not want to go home. We wanted to go home, but they didn't want to go home. Curtis does dress up in full gear with the hard hat and the coveralls, and we do a safety meeting, so we teach them about safety. He does his presentation, and then they get to plug their own well. So these are the little wells that we have, the mock-up that we have the children do, and it shows the different layers with the sand and the cement, and this represents the actual well bore. So we can show them what it takes to actually close it, and then they get to take these home and tell everybody they made them. They're really cool. You know what? It's cute that we get the community involved in these towns. It's really fun. And we're looking forward to doing that in Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Kansas, and everywhere that we're going. We named one of our chambers that we test the methane with, Dorothy, like from Twister. And he has a whole thing where he's taking her all over the country and takes photos of her in the back of his truck, which is really cute. So Dorothy's in Pennsylvania right now doing her job, which is great. I mean, we know it's a huge undertaking, but on the other hand, you have to do something about it. So if we all have that notion where this is too hard to handle and just step away from it, that's not good. Right. So that's why our motto is one well at a time, because you have to start somewhere. And sort of that's what we're doing. It's not easy, but it's worth it, because every time one is shut, you feel proud that you accomplished it. And when you see the numbers and when you see what the outcome is just shutting one well, it's worth it, because multiply that by thousands and tens of thousands or millions. And also, so far, the wells that we have closed, we monitor them. And so there's been 0 emissions on all of those, which is really exciting.
Thank you, Stacy. It was great to catch up and hear the exciting expansion plans, as well as about their continued work here in Montana. I'll be doing a full update episode on the Well Done Foundation soon, with more of this interview and more. I'll include links to their social media and website in this video description, and if you want to see the whole process, check out the Well Done Foundation series playlist here on my channel. Now, I'll touch base with Curtis over Zoom at another time, but it was good to catch up and physically be here and see what's going on. They're making good progress, and that's great to see. Since we're traveling through, Stacy was kind enough to invite us over for dinner last night to their home here in Shelby and made an excellent chicken marsala. So we really appreciate her hospitality and patience with a little bit of loud Joan action going on. But we had a great night, and it was really kind of her to invite us over. That's it for Shelby. We're going to wrap up here and start heading south. We're staying in Livingston tonight, just about 20 miles east of Bozeman. The hotels were a lot cheaper there. So we're going to get down there and do some sightseeing along the way. If the weather holds out, we'll find out. Then tomorrow we're going to hit Yellowstone. So tomorrow's going to be a big day. Hopefully today's relatively easy travel. On our way back south, we are going to, again, stop in Great Falls, see if we can get him set up with either a new phone or get his account cooking again, or I don't know. We're going to figure it out. Or not. Who knows at this point. I recorded that piece early in the morning before Joan was up, and by the time I got back to the hotel, she and Michael were at breakfast. Joan and I hit the pool one more time before checkout. We packed up the car. Here's a good close-up of the outlets and the pedestal. Then stopped downtown for a little more B-roll and some coffee. Now off to Great Falls. The clouds were following us south, but we stayed dry most of the day. We stopped at a rest area near a creek, hoping for a trail, but it wasn't much more than a restroom stop. Once in Great Falls, we found a Verizon store and Michael was able to get his phone info figured out, but he didn't bother to get a replacement until he got home. We grabbed drive-through lunch on the way to the superchargers, glad that saga was put to bed for now. Great Falls, I forgot to take a photo when we got here, but I think we were at about 40% after preconditioning. After level 2 charging in Shelby, I was out of the habit of taking pictures before and after supercharging, but our stop in Great Falls cost $9.18. And we were on our way to Helena. As we drove through those incredible mountains again, we pulled off on a side road to get a little closer to the river. At one of the parking areas for fishermen, we got out of the car, walked down, and dipped Joan's feet a little bit. We were there for a few minutes until we started feeling sprinkles and figured we'd better stay ahead of the storms. Another windy stop in Helena. We took 20 minutes for restrooms and snacks, but it could have easily been a 5 to 10 minute stop, since we didn't need much to get to Bozeman, a drive that was getting very familiar. Ramping up here in Bozeman, and obviously we're not desperate for a charge right now. We could make it to Livingston and back, but tomorrow we are going to start a very early morning trying to get to Yellowstone as early as we can. So I want to fill up here and get to Livingston, park the car, and have plenty to get to West Yellowstone in the morning, just right off the bat. So ramping up 149, pretty good. So for version 2, that's about where we can be. So all good. I'm gonna stick around here for a little bit, get charged up, and get rolling. Hopefully have an early night. In Livingston, we checked into the sketchiest hotel on the trip. Threadbare carpets, a door that's sort of locked, and a few other curiosities had me thinking this place was probably incredible in the late 1980s or early 90s, but hadn't seen a lot of upkeep since. We were going to find a restaurant, but the town was hopping and there were lines everywhere, so we hit the grocery store and had dinner from the back of the car. I took Joan swimming, then we tried to get to sleep early. Good morning. It is almost 5 a.m. and we are trying to pack up and get out of Livingston and get to Yellowstone relatively early to beat the bulk of the traffic. But we've got about a 2-hour drive to West Yellowstone and the entrance of the park, and we're going to need to charge up when we get there. So we got to make tracks, get Joan up, and get moving. This is Big Sky, Montana. Lots of shops and boutique-y things, hotels. Looks like a nice space, but probably very expensive. We're only going to be here about 10 minutes and then get moving. We're getting pretty good speeds here. We could have made it all the way to West Yellowstone with 17%, but wanted to have a little bit of buffer and hit an extra supercharger. So after 40%, we dropped down to about 70 kilowatts. And now we're kind of ramping up slowly, but still pretty bad, and we don't need to be here anymore, so we're out of here rather than trying to figure it out and move spots. Alright, ramping up pretty good. Hopefully at 40% it doesn't drop us off a cliff again. Hoping to get into Yellowstone before all of the traffic heats up, but we'll see how long this takes. We'd left so early, Joan was still in her pajamas, so we got her ready for the day and walked to the main drag for coffee. By the time we got back, we were good and charged and ready for adventure. Not far into the park, we saw a black bear, but of course didn't have the GoPro running. It had been an early morning, but worth it. Next week we'll finish up in Yellowstone and drive south past Grand Teton and into Colorado for some more adventures, then the trek home across the plains. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.